The performer you're about to see is 22 years old, and he specializes in sleight of hand techniques used by card cheats. This September he'll be receiving the Milbourne Christopher Award for Close-Up Magician of the Year. Wow. Yet he still finds time to be a full-time student at the University of Pennsylvania, where he studies molecular biology. Yes. So we're going for a great show. Ladies and gentlemen, making his Magic Castle debut, please help me welcome Daniel Roy.
Nice to meet everyone, but specifically you as well. Could I ask your name?
Adam.
Adam, good to meet you.
Nice to
and
meet you.
Jesse.
Jesse, good to meet you as well. Thank you both so much for helping out. Now, all my life I've been fascinated by all the various scams and cons. Probably the best example is what's known as three-card Monte.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of three-card Monte? Someone's heard of three-card Monte. I've been around the block, clearly. Now, Jesse, three-card Monte is a very old con game with a fascinating history, and it uses just 3 playing cards. Now, the whole point of the game is to keep track of one of the cards as the operator, that's me, mixes them around on the table. If you follow the right card, you win, and if you follow the wrong card, you lose. Now, a little bit, Jesse, we're going to be playing three-card Monte for real. And I want to explain that this game is like a quiz show. And I'll be playing it as if Jesse's the contestant. So that means no one else can give her hints or help her out. In other words, you're defending for yourself, okay? Now, by all accounts, the greatest three-card Monte hustler of all time was a man by the name of Canada Bill Jones, who lived during the American Civil War. In one calendar year, he won $150,000 playing this little game. Wow. It's a lot of money, right? Now, the cards he would use... What's that?
Oh, you heard me?
Yeah, just slightly. It is a rather small room. But, so, you were saying?
Can I have some of your intellect?
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Not quite as fungible as money, but okay. Anyway, I think I was saying... oh, yeah, the cards he would use were the Ace of Clubs, another perfectly identical Ace of Clubs, and the 10 of Diamonds. They call this card the money card because, ooh, yes, because if you can follow it, you win the money. Ooh. There we go. Now, there were a few ways that Canada Bill would toss those cards down on the table. Sometimes he would toss the money card down in the middle, and other times, he would toss it down on the end. And then he'd mix the cards around a little. So now we're going to play for real, Jesse. I want you to try to keep track of the money card, okay?
Jesus, okay.
I mean, no pressure. You're only playing. She's like, okay. You're only playing for the approval of like 28 people. It's all right. I'll toss the money card down. And then I'll mix the cards around a little. Now, it can be confusing because I crossed my hands, but you probably saw that the money card went over here, right?
No.
And that's how Canada Bill Jones won $150,000 playing this little game. Now, another great Monte hustler, and the sometime partner of Canada Bill Jones, was a man by the name of George Devol. It's actually a great story about George Devol. He once won all of a wealthy man's money on a passenger train. The wealthy man then pulled out a gun and pressed it to George Devol's head, demanding his money back. Mr. Devol managed to calm the guy down. He took him over to a corner. He said, look, I'd be happy to give you your money back. But I can't do it in front of all these people here because then they'll demand their money back too, right? So here's what we'll do. We'll play one last round of three-card Monte. I'll bet all the money you've lost and I'll let you win. And the guy said, oh, except I don't have anything to bet. So George Devol said, hey, that looks like an expensive gun. Why don't you bet that? So they handed the money and the gun to a stakeholder for safekeeping. They went back to the table, and of course George Devol cheated him again. Snatched up the man's gun, pressed it to his back, and forced him to jump off the moving passenger train. Jesse, I'm noticing you're looking a little bit more nervous than before. I can't help but wonder why. So strange. So strange. George Devol would toss the money card down on the end. And then he'd mix the cards around a little. Now, I'm not as good as George Devol, so you probably saw that the money card went over here, right?
Yes.
Where did you see it go? You can point. Where did you go? Yes. No, Jesse, I'm trying to teach you how the game is played. You have to trust me. That's how George Devol won that man's gun. Now, Jesse, I should explain. The game isn't played like this anymore. It was too difficult to keep track of the 2 black aces and the red 10. People found it too confusing. So these days, they play the game with 1 black ace and 2 red 10s. Thank you. Adam, would you take a look at those cards, make sure the ink doesn't rub off? Do you think it might have made the game more or less difficult if you'd had more drinks before?
Only a half a glass in.
Okay. After like 2 or 3 glasses, you stop following the card, you just close your eyes and guess. Honestly, it's a great strategy. So, now that you know how the game works, do you want to play for cash?
How much did you bring?
His money! Wow. Okay. Are you willing to finance her 3-card Monte addiction?
I've got a watch on.
Oh,
We're not giving that watch, no.
Wait, hold on. So you're like, pay for it, but don't pay for it with the thing I gave you. Oh my God, $1.
Yes.
That's
I've got one of those.
That's the show, folks. Thanks very much for your time. Just kidding. Now, yeah, 149,999 to go, right? Now, don't worry, I'll give it back after the show. Now, Jesse, this time I'm going to ask you a favor, okay? Which is, I want you to keep track of the ace of clubs. In other words, I want you to follow the card with your eyes. So when I ask you to point to where the ace of clubs is, I don't want you to point to where you think the card is or where you guess the card is. I want you to point to where you see it go. In other words, trust your eyes, okay? And this time we'll play for real, but it doesn't matter if she wins or loses because I'm not giving anything away if she wins. But trust your eyes, okay? Now remember, Jesse, don't bet on either of these red 10s here. This is the card to bet on. I'll toss the money card down. And remember, Jesse, don't bet on this red 10 over here. Don't bet on this red 10 over here. This is the card you want to follow. In fact, I won't even mix the cards until you say go. Tell me when to go. Go. Okay, Jesse. Point to where you saw the money card go. Did I put a little bend? Let me straighten that out. That's why you should never Monte. Wasn't that sneaky? But Jesse, I feel bad. So this time, I'll give you an opportunity that neither Canada Bill Jones nor George Devol would have given you, okay? This time, I will take the paperclip, and I will put the paperclip onto the money card. So now there can be absolutely no doubt about which one the money card is because it has a paperclip on it. Now, Jesse, it's your job to remember that the 2 red 10s are only here to confuse you. Remember last time there was a little bend in the corner of that card? I'm going to take that to another level because this time I will tear off a corner of the money card. So now there can be absolutely no doubt, Adam, about which one the money card is because there's a corner torn out of it. Now tell me, Jesse, are you right or left-handed?
Right.
Would you hold out your right hand for me, but palm down like this? And I want you to cover that corner up. Cover it up completely. Now watch closely, Jesse, because I'm going to mix those cards around. And I have to tell you, Jesse, it's amazing how many people would bet on what seems to be the surest thing. Would you lift your hand and show that corner? And Jesse, you can see that it matches perfectly. And I'm going to give you these cards as a little souvenir and as a little reminder never ever to play 3-card Monte. Thank you. Okay, for real this time though. I think I've earned
Keep
this
it
now.
down.
So nice. I'll give it back after the show.
No, keep it.
I am no. Wow, that hit way too close to home. I'm here to entertain you, have fun, and now I'm sad. Now, Adam, I am noticing that you don't have a souvenir, and I don't want you to go away with hurt feelings. So, I have $1 that I can give you.
Sign it!
Sign the $1 and then give it to him.
Yes,
So it'll be
yes.
worth like $1 and like 1 cent, or maybe 99 cents, depending on how much. Now, in reality, Adam, I'm going to give you a deck of cards at the end to say thank you for helping out. Yeah, I'll use it for this next one. Now, tell me, Adam, are you right or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. So what I want you to do is with your right hand, I want you to reach over, cut over about half to 2/3 of these cards and put them right here, okay? All right, great. And then Jesse, would you cut over maybe just a few cards and put them right here? Okay, great. So you've cut to the 5 of clubs. Yes. Now, because you cut to the 5 of clubs, I will attempt to locate the other 3 5s from wherever they might be in the deck. So in other words, oh yes, that's 1, that's 2, and that should be 3. That should be the 5 of spades, 5 of diamonds, and the 5 of hearts. So, how do you learn something like that? Well, you have to study the works of the past masters. See, philosophers wish they could have dinner with Plato and Aristotle in ancient Greece. Artists wish they could paint with Leonardo da Vinci in Renaissance Italy. If I could go back in time, I would not sit in one of Einstein's lectures, nor would I discuss politics with Julius Caesar, or even plan battles with Alexander the Great, meditate with Buddha, compose music with Beethoven, or study the stars with Galileo. No, no, no. I would play poker with 3 legendary card cheats who I'm going to tell you more about. Interesting use of time travel ability, right? They are S.W. Erdnase, Di Vernon, and Walter Irving Scott.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you agree. Wonderful. So, as I was saying, why these 3? Well, in 1902, the mysterious S.W. Erdnase wrote The Expert at the Card Table, which is probably the most important book ever written on sleight of hand with playing cards. Now, his name is an anagram. S.W. Erdnase backwards reads E.S. Andrews. But to this day, no one actually knows his true identity, which, considering that he was a card cheat revealing the secrets of his trade for money, is probably what he wanted. Now, Erdnase was a master at what's called stacking the deck. It basically just means to reposition the cards to your advantage as you shuffle them. In fact, he even published a simple formula for stacking the deck. It's so easy that I will recite it for all of you, and then you'll be able to go home and stack the deck yourself. Look like you don't believe me. There's something about my face. Doesn't this look like a trust on my face? It's almost like there's something I've done in the last 5 minutes to be undeserving of your trust. Strange. Strange. Well, here's the formula. It's really, really easy. I'll put the 4 5s on top of the deck, and I'll leave them face up so you can follow them. All you do is you take the top card and you put it on the bottom. Easy, right? Then you undercut about half the deck. You in-jog the top card. You run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, and then you shuffle off, leaving the last 5 on top. Easy. Then you undercut to the out-jog, run 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, throw to the break, run 1 card, in-jog the next card, run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, then you shuffle off. Then you undercut to the out-jog, again drop everything below the break, run 1, 2, 3, 4 cards, throw, and you're done. That's the easiest thing. So you've got the whole formula memorized, right? Because there's going to be an exam after the
Can't wait to blow that exam.
Okay. We can play for the $1, right? If you do well in the exam, you get the $1. If not, then you owe me. Okay. So what you're saying is you're going to study really, really hard for this exam. The student versus the parent. Well, interesting. Well, let's see if the stack worked. On the first round, I received 5. This hand is called pocket 5s. They say that 3 of a kind is really all you ever need to get the money. But just to be sure, I stacked myself all 4. Yeah. Sneaky, right? Pretty good, she says. You know, she's just mad about the 3 cards.
She's mad you ripped the souvenir.
That's true, that's true, yeah. Well, I'm sorry I ruined your precious $2.50 souvenir. I did not bring tape. I don't know, maybe I have some backstage. Although it's $2.50, so that's helping offset the, like, 28 grand that you owe me from all the Monte. Okay. I'm glad we agree on the price. Yeah. 3 pieces of paper for 28 grand. Easy. Okay. Seated across from me, Di Vernon, a Canadian-born magician who revolutionized magic by tracking down card cheats, learning their secrets, and then teaching them to other magicians. Pretty much every trick you see today owes some thanks to Vernon. Now, Vernon was a master at what they call controlling the cut, or beating the cut, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll put the 5 of hearts on top of the deck. Vernon could give those cards a cut, but still control the 5 of hearts. This time I'll use the 5 of diamonds. Maybe you think a straight cut is too simple. He could even give the deck 3 cuts like this, but still control the 5 of diamonds. Okay, this time I'll use the 5 of spades. He could cut the deck into 3 piles on the table like this, but still control the 5 of spades. Last but not least, the 5 of clubs. He could even give the cards what they call a running cut or a strip cut, the way they do in casinos, and not only would he be able to control the 5 of clubs, but also the 5 of spades, the 5 of diamonds, and the 5 of hearts. Now, yeah, you need another drink after that. You've got 2 glasses of wine there. This is dedication. Did they tell you that you were going to be playing like gambling games, that you're going to need to drink a little
line
bit?
them up.
Okay. So, seated to my right, Walter Irving Scott, known as the Phantom at the card table. During the first quarter of the 20th century, he made his living with what are called crooked deals, and I'll show you what I mean. I will put the 5 of hearts on top of the deck. Walter Scott could deal out a round of cards, yet somehow he would receive the 5 of hearts. Now, it's easy to see what's happening if I leave the 5 face up. When I deal to the other players, I'm pulling cards from directly underneath the 5. In other words, I'm dealing the second card from the top. Now, significantly more difficult is what they call a bottom deal, where that 5 of diamonds goes onto the bottom of the deck. Yet, Walter Scott could deal 1 card to each of the other players and then 1 card to himself off the bottom. You can see the 5 is no longer on the bottom of the deck because it's now in my poker hand. However, in high-stakes games of cards, they make you use what's called a cut card. It's basically just a face-up joker that goes onto the bottom of the deck, and it pins in the 5 of spades. Because right now, if I tried to do a bottom deal, I would deal the face-up joker, which would make it really obvious that I was cheating, right? But Walter Scott could even deal that 5 of spades out from above the cut card. You can see that the joker is still there, but the 5 is gone because it's now in my hand. But the granddaddy of all the crooked dealing moves is the legendary center deal, where that 5 of clubs literally goes into the middle of the deck. Yet, Walter Scott could once again deal 1 card to each of the other players and then 1 card to himself directly from the center, the 5 of clubs. So that was just a wasted adolescence. Some very disappointed parents. But hey, it was worth it. Now, if I really were playing poker with these 3 giants, if 1 player was allowed to shuffle the deck and cut the deck and deal the cards, then that player would just win every single time. So we'd have to divide up the responsibility so that 1 player would shuffle, another player would cut, and another player would deal the cards. And I would also impose just a little handicap on each of the players just to push their skills to the limit. So for example, Erdnase would not be allowed to shuffle the cards in his hands like this. Instead, he would have to shuffle them flat on the table the way they do in casinos. So, I will put the 4 5s on top of the deck. Erdnase would give these cards a series of shuffles. And during these shuffles, he wouldn't really be concerned with mixing the cards. Rather, he would be much more concerned with repositioning those cards to stack them for a game of poker. And he would do it in just 4 shuffles or less. So this here is the 4th shuffle. And then the cards would be passed to Vernon to be cut. He wouldn't be allowed to just give the cards a straight cut. He'd have to give the cards one of those running cuts or strip cuts that we talked about earlier. And then the cards would be passed to Walter Scott to deal. Not only would he have to put a cut card on the bottom of the deck, but he would also have to burn a card each round. So in other words, he would burn a card by placing it aside, deal 1 card to Erdnase, 1 card to Vernon, 1 card to himself. And look at that, there's the first 5, the 5 of clubs. I'm glad it showed up too. All that work. See, Erdnase would never stack the winning hand for himself. Way too obvious. Instead, he'd stack the cards for me, and then after the game, we'd split the money. It's a way of deferring suspicion. Sneaky, right?
Yeah.
Then he would burn one more card, deal one card to Erdnase, one card to Vernon, one card to himself. And look at that, there's the second 5, the 5 of hearts, a pair of 5s. Then he would burn yet one more card, deal one card to Erdnase, one card to Vernon, one card to himself. And there's that third 5, the 5 of diamonds. In Erdnase's day, they played a game called stud poker. 3 5s was a very strong starting hand. Last but not least, he would burn one last card, deal one to Erdnase, one to Vernon, one to himself, and there's that fourth 5, the 5 of spades. Let's see. Erdnase was a card cheat at heart. He wouldn't want to split the money. So he would have used those stacking shuffles to stack himself the Jack of Spades, the Jack of Diamonds. But Di Vernon had read Erdnase's book. He knew all his secrets. He wouldn't want to split the money with him. So he would have used those false cuts to position all 4 queens for his own hand. But Walter Irving Scott was Vernon's biggest rival. He wouldn't want to split the money with him. So he would have used those crooked deals to deal himself all 4 kings. With the 4 5s, I've got the worst hand in the game. But luckily, I've been practicing, which means in just an instant I can switch those 5s for, you guessed it, the ace of clubs, the ace of hearts, the ace of diamonds, and the ace of spades. Double thumbs up from the back row. Thank you. This is the validation I live for. Now, Adam, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow. And thank you, that's very kind of you. I'm glad we feel the same way. I mean, honestly, at this point, if people aren't impressed, it's kind of awkward. But, I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, would it be possible for one person to combine all of these techniques into one final demonstration? Well, just for you, I'll give it a try, okay? It's so sweet of me, right? Yeah, it's the least I can do after all the cheating from earlier. So, this time, we'll be playing the game of bridge. Does anyone here play bridge? 2 people. That's the rousing response. Well, this will be just for you guys. All you have to know about bridge is that there are 4 players, and each player gets 13 cards. So, I will give the cards some of those stacking shuffles from before. And then, of course, after you shuffle the cards, you always have to cut. And hopefully, with those stacking shuffles, those false cuts, and some crooked deals, I should be able to deal myself the best possible bridge hand, starting with the King of Spades, followed by the Queen of Spades, followed by the Jack of Spades, followed by the 10 of Spades, and the 9 of Spades, and the 8 of Spades, and the 7 of Spades, and the 6 of Spades, and the 5, and the 4, and the 3, and the 2, and the Ace of the Spades. But I would be a poor cheat if I didn't stack some good cards for my friends here. That's why I gave Walter Irving Scott the Ace of Diamonds, yes way, the 2 of Diamonds, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, the 9, the 10, the Jack, the Queen, and the King. I gave S.W. Erdnase all 13 clubs in perfect numerical order. And for Di Vernon, the father of us all, the second highest ranking suit, the Ace through King of Hearts. Thank you all so Adam, I'm going to give you these cards as a souvenir to say thank you for helping out as promised. I've never seen someone this excited to get a deck of cards.
He's got kids.
$1.
And they have piggy banks. We're gonna
yes. So you're saying you're going to put the cards through the little pig. They're going to be so disappointed. You got some money. Nope, just cardboard.
Nope, 3-card money.
Yeah, really. No.
Sign the box.
Sign the box.
I'll be honest, Adam, that's a good idea. It'll be worth, well, maybe 1 cent more.
Maybe.
I will give you these cards, as I was saying, and I'll be honest, it's actually a self-stacking deck. You can shuffle them up, they go back in order. Don't waste your time on all this sleight of hand stuff. Save your adolescence. Your kids don't have to learn this. Save their adolescence, too. Oh, I'm noticing, actually, that your souvenir is kind of a lot cooler than his, right? Because you've got the torn card. Maybe you'd be willing to sell him one of those cards to offset all the money that you both owe me. So so, hey, Adam, thank you so much for helping out. Jesse, thank you so much for helping out. Thank you.